Remember when Segways were supposed to revolutionize transportation? When everyone was gonna glide around cities on these two-wheeled scooters? Steve Jobs said it would be as big a deal as the PC. Jeff Bezos said it was revolutionary. And then it launched. And it was a toy for mall cops and awkward tourists. That's the thing about futuristic tech. The demos look amazing. The commercials are slick. The promises are huge. And then you actually use it, and you realize it's either impractical, uncomfortable, or just solving a problem nobody has. I'm talking about tech that looked like it came from the year 2050, but worked like it came from 1995. Technology that promised to change the world and ended up in landfills. Gadgets that had billion-dollar launches and million-dollar failures. So tonight, I'm going to tell you about 5 pieces of tech that looked incredibly futuristic, but absolutely weren't. And the companies that lost billions betting on the wrong future. If you're into tech hype, spectacular failures, and the gap between marketing and reality, this channel is for you. We cover all the tech that promised the future and delivered disappointment. So subscribe if that sounds good. Alright, let's get into it. And we're starting with the most overhyped product launch of the 2000s. 2001. There's this mysterious product being developed in secret, codename Ginger, later changed to it, and the hype is insane. Steve Jobs sees a prototype and says, on the record, if enough people see this machine, you won't have to convince them to architect cities around it. It'll just happen. Jeff Bezos says it's going to be revolutionary. John Doerr, legendary venture capitalist, invests $38 million and says it'll be bigger than the internet. The internet. Let that sink in. Journalists who saw early demos were sworn to secrecy, but they're all talking about how this is going to change everything. Transportation, cities, the way we live. The speculation is wild. Is it a hoverboard? A teleportation device? A flying car? Nobody knows, but everyone's convinced it's going to be huge. December 3rd, 2001. Dean Kamen, the inventor, unveils IT on Good Morning America, and it's a scooter. A two-wheeled, self-balancing electric scooter, the Segway. Now, the technology is genuinely impressive. The gyroscopes, the balance system, the way it moves with your body, that's all legitimately advanced engineering. But it's still just a scooter, an electric scooter that costs $5,000. The reaction is immediate and brutal. People who were expecting flying cars or hoverboards are looking at this thing like, that's it? That's what Steve Jobs said would change cities? Saturday Night Live does a sketch mocking it within days. Late-night shows are making jokes. The internet, which was still young in 2001, is roasting it mercilessly. The Segway goes from the most anticipated product ever to a punchline in less than a week. And once people actually tried using Segways, the problems became obvious. First, you look ridiculous on one, like genuinely silly. You're standing upright, arms out, gliding along slowly. You look like an overgrown child on a toy. Second, they're not allowed on sidewalks in most cities. Too dangerous for pedestrians. But they're also not allowed on roads. Too slow for traffic. So where are you supposed to ride them? Third, they cost $5,000. $5,000. For that price, you could buy a used car, or a really nice bicycle, or a month's worth of Uber rides. Fourth, they're not practical. You can't carry groceries on them. You can't ride them in rain. You can't take them on public transit easily. They solve the problem of walking, but they create 10 new problems. And fifth, and this is what killed them, they require charging. So you ride your Segway to work, and then what? You can't just park it like a bike. You need to bring it inside, find an outlet, charge it for hours. It's less convenient than just walking. Dean Kamen projected the Segway would sell 10,000 units per week. Within 5 years, they'd sold about 30,000 total. That's not 10,000 per week. That's 30,000 in 5 years. The only people buying them were mall cops, airport security, and tourist companies doing Segway tours, which themselves became a punchline. Oh, you're one of those awkward tourists on Segways. Police departments tried using them. They quickly stopped because officers felt ridiculous, and they were impractical for actual police work. By the mid-2000s, the Segway was dead as a consumer product. It existed only in this weird niche of tourist attractions and industrial campuses. Dean Kamen's company kept trying. They released new versions, the Segway i2, the X2, cheaper models. Nothing worked. Nobody wanted them. And then, in 2010, something darkly ironic happens. James Heselden, a British businessman who had bought the Segway company, he dies in a Segway accident. He was riding a Segway on his estate, went off a cliff and died. The owner of Segway, killed by a Segway. It's tragic, obviously, but it's also the perfect metaphor for the whole Segway story. The product that was supposed to revolutionize transportation ended up killing the guy who owned the company. 2015. Segway gets acquired by a Chinese company, Ninebot. They stop trying to market Segways as revolutionary transportation and just sell them as toys. Expensive toys for people with too much money. Today, Segway exists mostly in the form of cheap electric scooters, the rental scooters you see on city streets, which is hilarious because those $400 rental scooters work better and are more practical than the original $5,000 Segway ever was. The Segway looked like the future of transportation, but it turns out that the future of transportation was just better trains and bikes, not a $5,000 gyroscopic scooter that makes you look like a dork. 2007. Microsoft announces something genuinely futuristic. The Microsoft Surface. Not the tablet, the table. A giant, multi-touch coffee table computer. And the concept is incredible. You put objects on the table, it recognizes them. Multiple people can interact with it simultaneously. You can drag and drop between devices just by placing your phone on it. It looks like something from Minority Report. Microsoft's demo videos are slick. People designing layouts, browsing photos, playing games, all on this beautiful glowing table. It looks like the future of computing. Steve Ballmer, Microsoft's CEO, is all in on this. He's demoing it on stage, talking about how this is going to revolutionize retail, hospitality, entertainment. He's saying every restaurant will have these tables within a few years. November 2007, the Microsoft Surface table launches, and the price is $10,000 for a table. Now, Microsoft's argument is this isn't for consumers. This is for businesses, hotels, casinos, retail stores. They're targeting high-end locations where $10,000 is reasonable, and some places actually buy them. The Rio Hotel in Las Vegas gets some. A few AT&T stores install them to let customers browse phones. Some high-end restaurants get them as novelties. But immediately, problems emerge. First, the table is thick, like absurdly thick. It's not a sleek coffee table, it's this massive chunk of technology that weighs 200 pounds. It dominates any room it's in. Second, it requires specific lighting, too much ambient light, and the sensors don't work properly. So you need to control the lighting in your entire space around this table. Third, it's fragile. It's a giant touch screen. Spill a drink on it? You just destroyed $10,000. Put something too heavy on it? Screen cracks. It's a table you can't actually use like a table. But the real problem was simpler. Nobody knew what to actually do with it. The demo videos showed all these cool concepts. But in practice, restaurants didn't need a $10,000 table to show menus. Hotels didn't need it for check-in. Retail stores found that regular tablets worked better and cost 1/50th the price. AT&T had Surface tables in their stores so customers could browse phones. Cool idea, but customers would rather just pick up the actual phone and use it. The Surface table was slower, more complicated, and less intuitive than just handling the actual device. Casinos tried using them for gaming, but gambling regulators didn't approve most of the applications, and customers preferred traditional slot machines and table games anyway. It was a solution in search of a problem. Microsoft built incredibly impressive technology and then couldn't figure out what it was actually for. 2010. Apple releases the iPad. $499. Portable. Actually useful. Works anywhere. Doesn't require special lighting or installation. And suddenly the Microsoft Surface table looks absurd. Why would anyone spend $10,000 on a table computer when you can spend $500 on a tablet that does everything better? Microsoft realizes they screwed up. The table isn't the future. tablets are the future, so they pivot. 2012, Microsoft releases the Surface tablet, directly competing with the iPad. They use the same name. The table gets quietly renamed to PixelSense, and then just discontinued. Total Surface tables sold, fewer than 10,000 units over 5 years. Microsoft invested hundreds of millions in development and marketing. They lost everything. Today, the original Surface table is a museum piece. A reminder that futuristic doesn't mean useful. That impressive technology without a clear purpose is just expensive garbage. The Surface table is the perfect example of Microsoft's problem in the 2000s. They built impressive technology, but didn't understand what people actually wanted. They thought people wanted giant shared computing surfaces. People wanted personal, portable devices. They thought businesses would pay $10,000 for a table computer. Businesses wanted $500 tablets. They thought looks futuristic meant is the future. It didn't. The Surface table looked like it came from 2050. But it failed because 2050 doesn't need giant immovable tables. It needs devices you can carry in your bag. 2001-2002. Bill Gates is convinced that the future of computing is tablets, not tablets like the iPad. Tablets running full Windows with a stylus. He does demos on stage showing how you can use handwriting recognition, how you can annotate documents, how you can hold it like a clipboard. He calls it the future of the PC, and the concept makes sense, right? A computer you can hold, write on, read from. Sounds good. Microsoft partners with HP, Toshiba, Fujitsu, all the major PC makers, to create tablet PCs running Windows XP Tablet Edition. These are full computers, not simplified devices. Full power, full Windows, just with a touchscreen and stylus. 2002-2003, tablet PCs start launching, and they're bad, really bad. First, they're huge and heavy. These aren't slim tablets. They're full laptops with the keyboard removed or made optional. They weigh 4 to 5 pounds. Your arm gets tired holding them after 10 minutes. Second, Windows XP wasn't designed for touch. It was designed for mouse and keyboard, so everything is tiny. Buttons are small. Text is small. You need the stylus because your finger is too imprecise. Third, the handwriting recognition is terrible, like hilariously bad. You write something carefully with the stylus, and the computer interprets it as nonsense. It's faster to just use the keyboard. Fourth, battery life is awful. 2 to 3 hours if you're lucky. These are running full Windows on laptop hardware. They eat batteries. Fifth, and this is the killer, they're expensive. $2,000 to $3,000 for a device that's worse than a regular laptop in every way, except you can occasionally write on it with a stylus nobody wants to use. Businesses were supposed to be the target market. Field workers, medical professionals, people who need to take notes while standing. Makes sense theoretically, but in practice, doctors and nurses just used paper. It was faster, more reliable, and didn't crash. When your tablet freezes while you're trying to record patient information, you go back to clipboards real fast. Field workers found them too fragile. Drop a tablet PC and you just destroyed a $3,000 device. Drop a clipboard and you pick it up and keep working. Students tried using them for notes in class, but typing is faster than handwriting, so they just used regular laptops anyway. By 2005, tablet PC sales were abysmal. Microsoft had projected they'd sell millions per year. They were selling maybe 100,000 to 200,000 annually. That's nothing in the PC market. 2010, Apple releases the iPad, and it's everything the tablet PC wasn't. It's thin and light. 1.5 pounds versus 4 to 5 pounds for tablet PCs. It's designed for touch from the ground up. Big buttons, clear interface, no stylus needed. It's fast and responsive. iOS is optimized for the hardware. Windows XP on tablet hardware was sluggish. It has great battery life, 10 hours versus 2 to 3 hours, and it's cheaper, $499 versus $2,000 to $3,000. The iPad proves that Bill Gates was right about tablets, but Microsoft had no idea how to actually build one. They tried to shove desktop Windows onto a tablet form factor and wondered why nobody wanted it. 2010, 2011. tablet PC sales collapse completely. Every manufacturer stops making them. The product category that Microsoft invented gets killed by Apple doing it correctly. 2012, Microsoft releases the Surface RT and Surface Pro, their new tablets. And they make the same mistakes. The Surface RT runs Windows RT, a locked-down version of Windows that can't run regular Windows programs. It's DOA. Discontinued after 1 year, the Surface Pro is better. It runs full Windows, but it's expensive, heavy, has mediocre battery life. It's a laptop pretending to be a tablet. It takes Microsoft until like 2017, 2018 to finally make decent Surface devices. By then, Apple has sold hundreds of millions of iPads. Microsoft spent 15 years trying to make tablet PCs work and never really figured it out. The tablet PC looked futuristic. All that handwriting recognition, the Stylus, full Windows. But it wasn't futuristic, it was bad, and the market knew it. Alright, we've got the TV technology that every manufacturer bet billions on and died in 5 years, and then Microsoft trying to recreate Minority Report again. These last two are about entire industries betting on the wrong future. 2009, Avatar comes out and makes $2.8 billion at the box office. It's the biggest movie ever, and a huge part of the hype is that it's in 3D, not the old red-blue glasses. 3D, modern, polarized 3D that actually looks good. Hollywood decides 3D is the future. Every blockbuster starts getting 3D releases. Theaters charge $5 to $8 extra for 3D tickets. It's a gold mine. And TV manufacturers look at this and think, we need to bring 3D home. Samsung, Sony, LG, Panasonic, every major TV company, they all go all in on 3D TVs. 3D TVs. They're convinced this is the next big thing, that every household will want 3D in their living room. 2010, 2011, 2012. CES, the big tech convention, is full of 3D TVs. Every manufacturer has them. They're the flagship products, the premium models. The pitch is compelling. You loved Avatar in 3D at the theater, now you can watch at home. They're marketing 3D sports broadcasts, 3D gaming, 3D everything. ESPN launches ESPN 3D, a dedicated 3D sports channel. DirecTV offers 3D programming. Sony makes 3D Blu-rays. It's a whole ecosystem, and consumers actually buy them at first. If you're buying a new TV in 2010 to 2012, it probably has 3D, not because you necessarily want 3D, but because all the high-end models have it. But then people get their 3D TVs home and realize 3D at home sucks. First, the glasses. You need special glasses, either the heavy active shutter kind that need batteries, or the cheaper passive kind that are flimsy, and you need one pair for every person watching. So you're sitting in your living room with your family, all wearing dorky 3D glasses watching TV. It's uncomfortable. It's awkward. It's not relaxing. Second, the 3D effect is worse at home. In a theater, the screen is huge. You're focused on it completely. At home, you're watching a smaller screen in a lit room with distractions. The 3D loses impact. Third, not much content. Yes, there are 3D Blu-rays of Avatar and some other movies, but that's it. Regular TV shows? Not in 3D? Netflix? Not in 3D? You bought an expensive 3D TV to watch 3D, and there's almost nothing to watch. Fourth, and this is what killed it, people just didn't use it. After the novelty wore off, people stopped wearing the glasses. They'd watch the same TV in 2D. The 3D feature became useless. 2013, ESPN 3D shuts down after 3 years. Not enough viewers. DirecTV discontinues 3D programming. 2014, 2015. TV manufacturers start quietly removing 3D from new models. First, the mid-range models lose it, then the high-end models. By 2016, almost no new TVs have 3D. 2017, LG and Sony officially announced they're discontinuing 3D support entirely. Samsung had already quietly done it. 3D TVs are dead. From launch to death, 7 years. From peak hype to complete discontinuation, 5 years. That's insane. The entire TV industry spent billions developing 3D technology, marketing it, building an ecosystem, and consumers just didn't care. The novelty wore off in months. Here's why 3D TVs failed. They solved a problem nobody had. Nobody at home was thinking, I wish my TV watching experience required wearing uncomfortable glasses and gave me headaches. Nobody wanted that. 3D worked in theaters because it was special. You go to the theater specifically for the big screen, the sound system, the experience. 3D was part of that special experience. But at home, TV is casual. It's background. It's comfortable. 3D made it none of those things. The TV industry mistook people will pay extra for 3D at the theater with people want 3D at home. They were wrong. Today, you can't even give away 3D TVs. They're in thrift stores for $50. The glasses are e-waste. A multi-billion-dollar bet on the wrong future. 2009. Microsoft announces Project Natal, later renamed Kinect. It's a camera system for Xbox 360 that tracks your body movements. No controller needed. You are the controller. The demo videos are incredible. People playing games by moving their bodies, navigating menus by waving their hands. It looks like Minority Report. It looks like the future. Steven Spielberg. Yes, that's Spielberg. He's at the announcement, talking about how this is going to change entertainment. Microsoft is positioning this as the biggest leap in gaming since the controller itself. And the hype works. When Kinect launches in November 2010, it sells 8 million units in the first 60 days. 8 million. It breaks Guinness World Records for fastest-selling consumer electronics device. Microsoft is convinced they've revolutionized gaming. Sony scrambles to compete with PlayStation Move. Nintendo's Wii was already doing motion controls, but Kinect seems more advanced. No controllers at all. But then people actually play games with Kinect for more than 30 minutes, and the problems become obvious. First, it requires a lot of space. You need to be 6 to 8 feet from the TV with nothing in the way. Most living rooms don't have that kind of clearance, so you're moving furniture to play games. Second, it's exhausting. Waving your arms around, jumping, dancing. It's a workout, which is fine for 10 minutes, but after a while you just want to sit down and play normally. Third, the tracking is imprecise. Your character does something you didn't intend because the Kinect misread your movement. It's frustrating. Fourth, and this is the killer, the games were bad. The launch titles were all casual party games and dance games. Nothing hardcore gamers wanted. No shooters, no RPGs, no strategy games. Just Kinect Adventures and Dance Central. Hardcore gamers, Microsoft's core Xbox audience, immediately rejected it. This wasn't for them. This was for casuals, for kids, for families. And those people, they already had the Wii. The problem was fundamental. Kinect was trying to replace controllers, but controllers work. They're precise, they're comfortable, they're proven. Game developers tried to make good Kinect games. They really tried, but every genre ran into the same problems. Action games? You can't aim precisely by pointing. You can't do complex combos by waving your arms. RPGs? How do you do menus and inventory management without a controller? You can't. Strategy games? Impossible. You need precise clicking and selecting. The only things that worked were dance games and fitness games. That's it. Kinect Adventures sold millions, but only because it came bundled with the Kinect. Nobody bought it separately. By 2012, Kinect game sales had collapsed. Developers stopped making games for it. The few that did were cheap cash grabs. 2013, Microsoft releases the Xbox One, and they make a catastrophic decision. They bundle Kinect with every Xbox One. Mandatory. You can't buy an Xbox One without Kinect. This raises the price to $499. The PlayStation 4? $399. No gimmicks, just gaming. And gamers hate this. They don't want Kinect. They don't want to pay $100 extra for something they'll never use. They want a gaming console, not a motion control device. Microsoft tries to pitch it as the Kinect does more than gaming. You can control your TV. You can video chat, but gamers don't care. They have remotes. They have phones. They don't need Kinect. The Xbox One launch is a disaster. The PS4 outsells it 2-1 in the first year. Microsoft's gaming division is in crisis mode. June 2014. 8 months after launch, Microsoft announces you can now buy Xbox One without Kinect for $399. They're admitting defeat. The thing they said was essential, not essential. 2015. Microsoft stops reporting Kinect sales figures. Bad sign. 2017. Microsoft discontinues the Kinect completely. No more manufacturing, no more support. It's dead. The Kinect went from the future of gaming to discontinued in 7 years, from mandatory to optional in 8 months. Microsoft spent over $1 billion developing Kinect. They sold about 35 million units total. Sounds like a lot, until you realize most of them were never used. They're in closets, still in boxes, gathering dust. The Kinect looked incredibly futuristic. The demos were impressive. The technology was advanced. But it failed because nobody actually wanted to play games by waving their arms around. It was a solution in search of a problem. And when Microsoft forced it on consumers, consumers rejected it completely. So there you have it. 5 pieces of tech that looked incredibly futuristic, but absolutely weren't. The Segway, supposed to revolutionize transportation, ended up as a punchline for mall cops. The Microsoft Surface Table, a $10,000 table computer killed by $500 tablets. Tablet PCs, Bill Gates' vision of stylus computing crushed by Apple's vision of touch. 3D TVs, an entire industry's billion-dollar bet that lasted 5 years before everyone gave up. And the Kinect, Microsoft, trying to make you the controller, but gamers just wanting to hold controllers. And here's the pattern. Every single one of these looked amazing in demos. The commercials were slick, the stage presentations were polished, the promises were huge, but they all failed because they didn't solve real problems. Or they solved problems nobody cared about. Or they made existing solutions worse, not better. The Segway made walking worse. The Surface Table made computing less convenient. Tablet PCs made laptops worse. 3D TVs made watching TV uncomfortable. Kinect made gaming exhausting. Futuristic doesn't mean better. Sometimes the future is just refinement of what already works. Better phones, better laptops, better TVs. Not revolutionary gimmicks that look cool but suck to actually use. These companies spent billions chasing a future that didn't exist, and consumers rejected every single one. If you want more stories about tech that failed, overhyped products, and the gap between marketing and reality, subscribe to the channel. And let me know in the comments, did you own any of these? A Segway? A 3D TV? A Kinect you never used? I'd love to hear about it. All right, see you in the next one.